Hello, students. Let's have a discussion on the first very important module. That is basically the discussion on economics, the concepts in microeconomics. Now, as earlier discussed, some of you are very much concerned about the concept of microeconomics. Is it important for UPSC? I would be lying if I simply say no, for a simple reason. There is one question here and there, right? Once every, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, in prelims that is asked on the concept of microeconomics. And if you know the basics of microeconomics, that will be more than sufficient for you to answer the question that is asked in case of UPSC prelims. Now, is it asked in the UPSC mains? The trend of UPSC is that no, it is not asked in UPSC mains. In case of UPSC mains, even if you go through the syllabus of UPSC mains, in the general studies paper on Indian economy, they have not mentioned microeconomics anywhere. And as such, microeconomics is more of a detailed discussion when you enter into a detailed discussion of economics, and that is not the purview of UPSC. That is discussed in case of graduation courses. UPSC doesn't test you in case of microeconomics to that particular extent. But that doesn't mean that there will be no question absolutely on microeconomics. Like I've already mentioned, every now, here and there, let's say once every 2 or 3 years, there will be one question on the microeconomics which is asked. And for you to answer that particular question, if at all you come across such questions, what we'll be discussing today will be more than sufficient. Okay, so what we'll be discussing is we'll start with introduction to economics and some of the very important concepts in microeconomics. We'll discuss that and we'll connect it to certain macroeconomic ideas also. So to begin with, right, what we'll be discussing here, we'll start with definition of economics. You cannot expect the questions on definition of economics, but essentially what do you mean by economics, right? How economics originated, etc. You need to understand, right? So one will start with the definition of economics, then we'll understand the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. What has been the evolution of economics over a period of time? You must have heard of the terms socialism, capitalism, right? Mixed economy, etc. Let's try and understand that. Then, what are the four factors of production? Law of demand, law of supply, the concept of market equilibrium, different types of goods, different types of elasticities, and then we'll connect all of this to a macroeconomic concept, that is savings, investment, and capital formation. Okay, so let's start the discussion now. First, we'll start with the definition of economics. Now, to be more precise, there are different definitions which have been given. Should you mug up all of the definitions? No. I'll discuss two definitions. One is a scarcity definition, and the second one given by Paul Samuelson, which is a modern definition of economics. In case of a scarcity definition, what do you mean by economics, right? Now, before I start the discussion, some of you will raise this particular question, sir, I read somewhere that economics is an art. And some of you will simply say, sir, I read somewhere that economics is a science. What is it? Whether economics is a science or is it an art? Again, from UPSC exams, these terminologies are not important, but essentially understand this. Yes, economics is considered to be a science as well as an art. And different definitions will prove that yes, it is a science also, it is an art also. You don't have to be worried about it. But how do you define economics? Let me give a definition here. Generally, as human beings, we would want to purchase a lot of goods and services in the market. We would want to invest in the market. We would want to purchase cars in the market. We would want to eat foods in the market. We want to travel, etc. So the basic idea is our wants are too many. Is it okay? Right? We want to purchase everything that is available on the earth, given a chance. But the problem there is, even though we want to purchase everything, we do not have sufficient resources to purchase everything. For example, imagine here is a person who has a resource that is 100 rupees. So using this particular 100 rupees, he wants to move from point A to point B, wants to consume food, wants to, right, let's say purchase luxuries also, wants to purchase essentials for household also. But please understand, within his constraint or the limited amount of resources that he has, is it possible for him to purchase everything? Is it possible for you to spend 100 rupees in purchasing luxuries, purchasing essentials, purchasing food, traveling? Do you think is it possible to do all of them within 100 rupees? No. But we want to do all of it. Have you understand this? You would want to travel, you would want to purchase food or eat food, you would want to purchase perfumes, you would want to purchase, let's say, coconut oil, which is an essential item for a household. So we would want to do everything or most things using the limited availability of a resource. But the reality or the fact of the matter is that you cannot do everything within the limited availability of the resources or the resources that you have are no way sufficient to meet all the requirements that you want to satisfy. In that particular situation, what we generally do is, although the same 100 rupee can be used for multiple purposes, we will use this particular 100 rupees for the immediate requirement, for the immediate need. For example, within this particular 100 rupees, today I might simply say, I don't want to go anywhere. I would want to simply consume food and I want to purchase essentials for the household. Or else, some of you might simply say, sir, rather than purchasing essentials, we can do it in the next month, or let's say after 1 week. Today, using this 100 rupee, let me have food and travel around the city. And so, what is the immediate requirement? What is the most pressing need currently? We will try to satisfy those using the limited amount of resources that are available to us. This is a basic idea of an economics. But how do I put all of this particular discussion in the form of a definition, in the form of a statement? I will use this particular statement. Economics is a science which studies the human behavior when this particular person is faced with a scarcity of resources. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Economics is the study of human behavior when this particular human is faced with the scarcity of resources. How does he allocate these particular resources to satisfy the needs? Is it okay? That particular study of the behavior is referred to as economics. And another very important term here, or a statement here, is these particular resources or the scarce means can have multiple uses or alternative uses. Meaning what? Same 100 rupee can be used to purchase essentials. Same 100 rupee can be used for transportation also. So this particular 100 rupee, which is a resource, which is scarce, will have alternative uses. But because this is a scarce, because this is limited, we will not be able to satisfy all the needs or all the requirements today itself, which are the most pressing needs. Those are the ones which are actually satisfied. This is the basic definition or the scarcity definition of economics. And using this, or apart from this, there is also one more definition, modern definition of economics, which is given by Paul Samuelson. As per this particular definition, economics is basically a study of the society. Okay, study of men or society, which utilizes these particular scarce resources to provide goods or services currently or in the future. Is it okay? I'll repeat this statement here. As per the modern day definition, which has been given by Paul Samuelson, the definition of economics says that it is the study of the society or humans who utilize the scarce resources, which again have alternative uses, and using these particular scarce resources, they allocate them, produce goods and services to supply to the society either today or in the future, right? So that is also one more definition of economics. But you don't have to run behind multiple definition of economics. If you remember one definition, more than sufficient. Now, is it okay if I say that all of us basically practice this on day-to-day life, right? For example, today you might be having, let's say, a salary of 1 lakh rupees, right? Don't you think you will start making calculations in your mind when you receive the salary of 1 lakh rupees? That is, should you spend it on purchasing a vehicle? Should you spend it on purchasing, let's say, real estate asset? Should you spend it to purchase gold in the market? Should you use it to purchase, let's say, certain essentials for the household? How much savings you must have? How much money you should keep in your bank? How much money you should give to your, let's say, parents, right, etc. So basically, that kind of a calculation, if you keep on doing, essentially what you're doing is following the scarcity definition of economics. Then, so this is a basic definition. If you remember this, more than sufficient, right? You don't have to mug up multiple definitions to understand economics. Now, this particular subject of economics, right, or study of economics is basically divided into two parts, right? Micro and macro. What is the basic definition or differences between the microeconomics and macroeconomics? Let's take a simple example here. Imagine this is one country, and in this particular country, let's assume 10 households are there. Now, if you ask me, sir, why are you taking only 10 houses? Can we take 100 houses? I'll say, yes, please go ahead. But number of houses is not important as long as you understand the concept here. So imagine in this particular country, 10 houses are there. If I simply take one house and start studying what is the income generated by this house, what is the demand for goods and services from this house, etc. This study is basically a concept of microeconomics. Is it okay? Generally, any economy consists of different economic agents. There are households, there are companies, there is a government. All the three are referred to as economic agents. And if I start studying individually all these economic agents as to what is their demand, what is the income, what kind of goods are they producing, right? What contribution are they doing to the economy? If individually all these economic agents are studied, that is called as a microeconomics. Whereas rather than studying only one house or one household, what if I take the total income generated by all the 10 households? That is, the whole economy is considered now, right? Whatever is the total number of households, what is the total income generated by them? What is the number of companies present in India? What is the total production done by all the companies, right? What is the total expenditure done by the government? So whenever you take the summation of all the economic agents, that is, the sum total of the overall economy is considered for the study. That kind of a study is called as the macroeconomics. I can understand the difference here. Micro means individual agents are considered for study purposes, whereas in case of macroeconomics, all the economic agents are considered as an entity, as a whole that is considered. Apart from this, in case of microeconomics, we deal with the individual incomes, individual units, individual outputs, etc. In case of a macroeconomics, the aggregates are considered. What do you mean by aggregates? Sum total is considered to be an aggregate. For example, imagine there are 3 houses here. Okay, in a particular country, there are 3 houses. House A, B, and C. House A demands 10 goods. House B demands 20 goods, and house C demands 30 goods. If I consider microeconomics, I'll be discussing each of the households individually. But if I consider macroeconomics, what is the total demand of all the households in the economy? 10 plus 20 plus 30, 60. This is called as aggregate demand. Is it okay? Same thing can we do with respect to companies, right? How much individual companies are producing. If I consider that, that will be part of microeconomics. But if I put together the total production done by all the companies, that will give you macroeconomics. So in case of a macroeconomics, it deals with aggregates such as national income, which is nothing but the sum total of all the incomes generated by individuals in a country, the total employment, total production, total supply, etc. The main tools in case of microeconomics are demand as well as supply. The main tools in case of macroeconomics, right, again are aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Okay, so these are some of the very important differences between microeconomics and macroeconomics. Beyond this, right, there are multiple differences. But for UPSC, you don't have to go to that particular extent or depth to understand the difference. If you can understand that when individual economic agents are considered, studied, we refer to that as microeconomics, and overall economy is considered for the study. That is basically idea for macroeconomics. And if you can understand this, more than sufficient.